my loves, and welcome once more to my channel. What did you think of that little intro there? Now, that was the result of last night, putting on my robes and boogieing to a song. I thought it would be a good idea at the time. Had some time to kill, and I thought I'd kill it in that way. Absolutely killed it, I'm sure you'll agree. That song that's playing, I'm going to talk about a little bit later. But anyway, what are we talking about today? It's about Thrift, the thrift store haul that I'm going to show you shortly. Now, of course, thrift, the word thrift and to be thrifty exists in the British vernacular, but we never apply it to shops. We don't call them thrift stores or thrift shops. We call them charity shops typically, or perhaps bric-a-brac shops, establishments that sell second-hand, third-hand, fourth-hand odds and ends, clothing, books and whatnot. And typically for charity, so it goes to charity usually. Now, that would be my first question to my American viewers, if there's any listening today. Do you have the charity shop thing over there, or is it purely private enterprise for profit? I've never really understood that. Now, the problem over here is that we have far too many charity shops. There are millions of the damn things. Over the past 20 years or so, I would say it's accelerated. So to coincide with the general decline of the high street in most towns and cities, when a shop bites the dust, who moves in but another damn charity shop? That's for various reasons. They get tax breaks, so they can afford the rent in high streets typically because they don't pay corporation tax, and there's various other, they don't pay VAT and things like that on the stock that's coming in, and obviously everything that they're selling is given to them for free. Now it is a wonderful thing. I'm not going to say it's not. I mean, it's generating millions of pounds every year for good causes. You cannot sniff at that, my loves. However, the problem is that it's turning town centres into kind of, well, it's like bric-a-brac land, basically. So you go in, and every single one you go into, they'll have different branding. And so it's for different charities, but they all look more or less identical inside. They're selling the same stuff. In terms of books, it's always the same damn shit. So trying to find stuff, specifically science fiction, which is what we all love here, my loves, isn't it? And fantasy, it's hard work. Now, if you've never heard of is it Dan Brown? Yeah, Dan Brown, or Stieg Larsson, you know, the Dragon Tattoo and all that. If you've never read that before, you're in luck, because you're going to find that book in every fucking shop you go into, as well as a load of other romance and contemporary shit that people are given as presents, never read, and then they give to charity shops. So the books tend to be quite new and in quite good condition. But anyway, my loves, what are we doing here? I'm rambling, of course. We're talking today about what I've been finding in these charity shops. I thought I'd give them a go. So what I did is 3 separate occasions I went out on the hunt for plunder. I went specifically for books, and sometimes I got books, sometimes I ended up with other shit. But we'll get to that in a moment. So the first day, me and my wife, Vanessa, we thought we'd take the day away on the train. So we got on the train, because I ain't got a car anymore. I had to fucking scrap it. Got on the train, went to a nice seaside town called Exmouth. I live in Exeter. Yes, there's lots of X being used, slung around down this way. But Exmouth is a wonderful little town, and I know there's been quite an infiltration of charity shops there. There's fucking loads of them, of course, but they have held on to a lot of independent other stores, and it does retain the charm of earlier times, I would say. They've also got an indoor pannier market, which is quite lovely as well. Yes, so of course, we were looking for books. Well, I was looking for books, and my poor wife was just trailing along behind me in my wake, but she enjoys it as well. She's looking for other things, of course. And the second charity shop we went into, I think 8 or 9 we visited that day. It was quite a wonderful day, my loves. That's what we do when we get older. We visit charity shops. The first thing I bought was these devils. Pair of corduroys. Pair of cords, as the hipsters might call them. Now, when you reach a certain age, I'm thinking above the age of 40, cords become, it's like catnip to the older gentleman. I cannot resist a good cord. Do the ladies love them? Of course they do. But anyway, that was the first purchase. Cords. Now, the next shop we went into, my wife came over to me with something in her hands. And she said, "What about this, you devil?" She found an old wooden box, hand carved, £4. Now, there's no date on it. It's definitely been handmade. You probably can't see very well because my camera's so fucking awful. But it's been handmade and I couldn't resist it. And £4, can't go wrong with that. It's got some kind of inlaid design here with, you're not going to see this, but kind of leaves, or yeah, I think it's leaves. And it's completely tarnished, but I think it's some kind of metal veneer that's been applied. But there we are. Bloody good old box, isn't it? I mean, nothing wrong with a box. I mean, what can go wrong buying an old box from a mysterious shop?
You opened it. We came.
It's just a bottle bag!
Oh no.
Did you see that, my loves? It seemed to get a bit darker in here. Is that my imagination? I'm sure it's just my imagination. Anyway, I'm going to open this box and see if there's anything left inside it.
We have such sights to show you.
Bloody hell. No, it's quite empty, my loves. Don't worry. There's no devilish shit going on with that box. But I don't know if any of you might be slightly reluctant to buy little charms and trinkets from shops like that. If you don't know the provenance, you don't know where it's from. This has been handmade, this object, and it could be evil. I don't know what I'm going to use for put in the box, actually. I was thinking perhaps a new satanic candle, so I could put a candle in there to use next time, perhaps. But there we are. That was the next thing I got. Okay, went into a few more charity shops. Still fucking bleak on the book's front. Every shelf you go into, every kind of arrangement of shelves, the same books are there that from the previous shop, but in a slightly different order. Bleak, bleak, bleak. But then I came in to a shop. I can't remember which one it is. It's all a blur. They all look the same, of course. And I found this, my lavs. And it's a DVD. I don't know if any of you have heard of this form of media before. It used to be very popular. I do have quite a collection. Never see them. Never watch them, of course. I don't have a DVD player except in my computer. But this is my favourite Norman Wisdom film, The Early Bird. It might be the first film that he appeared in that was actually in colour, because most of his films were in black and white. But I grew up watching these films. Light-hearted comedy. Norman Wisdom was an absolute genius. Now, have any of you heard of Norman Wisdom? You must have, surely. But anyway, here's a little clip. This is from the very end of this film. So it's quite a nice find. Yeah, I'm going to be watching this soon, actually, and I'm thinking of possibly recording it. So you can watch the film with me watching it. We can watch it together, perhaps. Because I've noticed some scallywags have recorded this film and put it on YouTube. It's not allowed, I'm sure it's not. But I'll stick it up there, and if it gets thrown down, who gives a fuck? Okay, so yeah, came out of that shop. I was on a high actually after getting that Norman Wisdom film, and lo and behold, across the road we saw a shop that had no signage whatsoever, but it had a load of miscellaneous stuff poking out of the shop, pretty much bursting out at the seams. It was this little shop. It wasn't a charity shop, but definitely of the bric-a-brac variety, and we went in there to explore. Now, this shop was shambolic in a nice way. The first thing we went in there, we were hit with a blast of musty air, with kind of old varnish and various other detritus, which I actually quite enjoy smelling. But this shop was so crammed full of stuff, it only had a tiny little corridor, if you will, or little aisle that traversed the whole thing. Just one little thing. 2 people couldn't pass, and it was that narrow. Quite a wonderful little place. And I was talking to the shop owner for a bit, and he had been running this shop for 23 years. God knows how he makes a business out of it, because I'm sure there were gems hidden within the debris, but this shop looked like someone had taken a skip, unloaded the whole fucking thing in the shop, and then just thought, let's sell it. It's just a load of crap mostly, but I'm sure there's some good stuff in there as well. The other problem being that there were buckets everywhere with water dripping in them from the broken ceiling. One part of the ceiling had absolutely just completely fallen away, and so there's water dripping on all of the stuff you might want to buy. One of the highlights being there was a tray of various bits of cutlery, small teaspoons and things like that. But at some point, water had got into this tray and everything on it was rusted. But it was still there if you fancy buying a rusty old spoon. Now, my eagle eye did actually seek out and find a few books hidden away, buried, literally entombed within this mass of stuff. But unfortunately, it wasn't suitable for me. It wasn't the kind of the charity shop tripe, but it was stuff that didn't interest me, basically, my loves. So we left there and then went on a mission to find the last charity shop in town. And that charity shop happened to be Bernardo's. Now, I used to frequent Bernardo's when I lived in Plymouth, and it was wonderful for books. It was like a mini library, shelves and shelves of books. And back then, I mean, that was over 10 years ago, the books there were like, it was free for £1, so you couldn't go wrong. And a nice varied assortment. And so I was hoping the one in Exmouth would be similar to that. Bernardo's, incidentally, is a charity that was founded in 1866. By Thomas John Bernardo, and it's a children's charity to help children. And yeah, so there we are. We ventured in, and lo and behold, we had some luck, my loves. Now, these are fairly recent books, but they're all Ian M. Banks. So Matter, part of the Culture series of books. Look to Windward. These are all £1 each. I only got 3. And the Hydrogen Sonata. Have you read any of these, my loves? Now, the only ones I've read are Consider Phlebas. I think that's called Phlebas or something like that. And The Algebraist. Those are the 2 I've read. And I wasn't so keen on the Consider Phlebas one, but I did enjoy The Algebraist, whatever you call it. So there we are. If you have a favourite of those, let me know, and I'll read it one day. Okay, so day 2. This is a few days later. We had to go food shopping, but I thought, let's combine it with some charity shops. So there's an area of the city called St. Thomas, and I know for a fact that there are a few charity shops down there. And lo and behold, there was also a Bernardo's there. So we headed straight to Bernardo's. Now, unfortunately, we happened to go there, never been there before, didn't even know it was there, on the day that it was closing down. So it was more or less empty. There was some books there, but hardly any. But my God, I managed to find this, a copy of the First Law trilogy, The Blade Itself. Now, I've already got this, as you all know, but I couldn't resist because it was only 25 pence, so I bought it. I've got some books to sell, a kind of haul of stuff I don't need. It's either doubles or whatever, just stuff I'm not interested in. And I'll probably sling that in there to make it a bit more tasty. So anyway, we got out of there. I was feeling a bit disillusioned at this point, but there was a couple more. There were 4 more charity shops to peruse. The very first one we tried, and I found something. Now, these were £50p each, these were. And the first one is this one, J.R.R. Tolkien, Beren and Luthien. Never even heard of this. I'm assuming edited by Christopher Tolkien. Right, so this is old stuff. This is old, unpublished perhaps by Tolkien Jr., but his son has... Is it his son? Was it his son? I don't know. But this is also illustrated by Alan Lee. So we've got some nice, lovely plates here, illustrated scenes from the book. And this is this particular copy is brand new. Oh, there we are. I've got some elves there cavorting in a forest. Yeah, brand new. It's never been read. Will I ever read it? I don't know, but I bought it. Now, the problem was I paid by credit card or debit card. They had a £1 limit, so I couldn't just buy that for 50p. I had to get another book as well. And I got this one. So Villain by Shuichi Yoshida, Japanese author. It's a bit of crime fiction. I've never heard of it, but I quite often read books by Japanese authors just because I've always loved Japan and I have a vested interest in Japan, shall we say. Now a major motion picture, well, I'll be darned. Never heard of it. Anyway, I'll read the blurb on this one. A young woman is brutally murdered on a remote mountain road. A young construction worker, Shuichi, is on the run. But is he guilty? This is the dark heart of Japan, a world of seedy sex, hotels and decaying seaside towns, a world of loneliness, violence and desperation. As the police close in on Shuichi and his new lover, the stories of the victim, the murderer and their families are uncovered, but these men and women are never what they appear to be. Interesting. Yes. We'll see, my loves. So there we are. That was day 2. I'm very sorry, my loves. This is a ramble fest, isn't it? Once again, I can't help myself. I haven't got much to show you, have I? Just a few books, DVDs and a fucking demonic box. But I can't help rambling. But that's the way it goes here, isn't it, my loves? Anyway, the third day I set forth, it was to go to the dentist, of all places. So, as you know, my teeth were pretty shagged. The British are well known for having really terrible teeth, and I'm no exception, my loves. They are all over the place, very crooked. But they needed a damn good cleaning because I hadn't been to a dentist prior to recently for, say, 12 years. So I had 12 years of accumulated shit stuck to my teeth. Plaque, mostly. That fucking rock hard shit that sticks to your teeth. And this poor woman had a devilish time trying to get it all off. And she was using this, I think it's called a water pick. So it's kind of needle of high pressure water that's used to blast that off. And my God, was it painful. She was going right down to the gum line. My gums were bleeding. I could taste blood throughout. And she kept asking if I was all right, because I was all tensed up and wincing with the pain. It was exquisite at times, my loves. Very painful indeed. And I was answering her, There's my attempt at saying I'm absolutely fine, my love. But she was right in my gob, so I couldn't really speak, obviously. She had no intention of letting me speak. She didn't pause for one moment. She was giving me absolute hell. But a wonderful young lady. In fact, so there's the young dentist herself and her assistant, also a young woman. And my loves, it felt almost erotic. Now, I'm not being a dodgy old man here, but there's something about being at the mercy of two young women, one of whom is inflicting pain and the other one is using a suction nozzle to suck all the shit out of my mouth continuously, and the various noises it was making that was borderline sexual. I had a horrible moment. I mean, this was never going to happen, but my mind was wandering, and every time she asked me if I was all right, I was wondering, I was worried that I might, imagine if you got a boner. Now, this must happen on occasion. I mean, you're laid flat on this thing. There's no way you'd be able to hide it. I'm not saying I wasn't aroused, and let's make that very clear. I'm talking about it in a kind of conceptual way. I wasn't aroused, but imagine if you were. What the hell would you do? I'd have to fly off the fucking seat and say, I'm sorry, I've had enough of this. But anyway, there we are. So I emerged half an hour later, kind of walking on clouds in a way, because the pain was almost enjoyable. Now, I am not a masochist, but there's something about a little tiny bit of pain that's just on the edge of your threshold that's kind of pleasant. It's like when you have a tattoo. If any of you have had a tattoo, I've got one on my arm because I'm a bit of a brute in my earlier days, my loves. And that pain is similar. It's horrible, but afterwards you feel good about it. So I was feeling good and I was strutting down the street and I suddenly thought, let's look for some books, my loves. Let's look for some books. The first charity shop I tried, the doors were locked. I tried to open the door. Some old chap was trying to get in there as well. I couldn't do it, my loves. It was locked for some reason. So I carried on. And then a hospice care came up. So another charity shop. Great big one, though. And yeah, it was lovely. It was so lovely in there. Bright and airy. Long... good old long floor space, all kinds of shit, loads of books actually. But the most interesting aspect was the music that was playing. And that was the music I used for the intro. It inspired the intro that I created. It's by Eli Nissan, I think. I think that's his name. I think it's a man. I'm not quite, it could be Ellie Nissan for all I know, but I think it's a man. And kind of, yeah, upbeat kind of dance music, which was quite incongruous in that place because typically charity shops midday on a work day attract a fair number of older people, it must be said. So it was quite surreal seeing, I mean, the average age in there must have been around 80, I would say. I brought that figure down slightly. I'm 45, but I was looking around, hearing this music, and I was like, this doesn't feel right. But I've got a feeling that the other old people there were enjoying it. And in fact, I asked the young woman, I call her young, she was in her 30s, I would say. I said, what's this song? I quite like it. And she said, oh, it's just playing from my Spotify playlist. But the way she looked at me is like, if he likes this song, I'm doing something wrong. It's probably off her playlist now, but I quite liked it. Anyway, so yeah, I looked around. It was still bleak offerings. They had a lot of older books there this time, but it tended to be non-fiction. Very obscure subjects like psychology from the 70s or various things that, yeah, I wanted to buy, but I had to hold back. But I did find this, my loves, and it's Stephen Donaldson's The Runes of the Earth. So the continuation of the Thomas Covenant epic, shall we say. So I read the first 6 Thomas Covenant books. I don't remember the names. Illerf, something bollocks. I don't remember what they're called. But I actually quite like them. I read them about 10 years ago. It's heavily referencing, or it's Tolkien, basically. It borrowed heavily from Tolkien. But enough has been changed to make it interesting. And it's also my favourite form of fantasy, whereby I guess you'd call it portal fantasy. So someone taken from our lived experience, our world, and transported into a high fantasy realm. So I really, really enjoyed it, but it's very verbose. It's overwritten. Mendacity, that's a word that used to come up again and again. And I remember there was a scathing review back in the day saying that every other page he uses the word clench. And he's got a point. Clench is used all over the place and not where you'd expect it. But anyway, anyone read any Stephen Donaldson? I'm hoping to read the continuation of the Thomas Covenant Adventures. We'll see. It's quite a big chunky fucker, isn't it? And I think that's just one of 3, perhaps? Well, the Last Chronicles, so maybe that's all of them in one. I don't know, but they're all great big books. Anyway, there we are. We've reached the end, my loves. Can you believe it? It was quite a crawl to get through here. But we did it, me and you. Lovely. What's coming next? Well, I've got no less than 5 books that I've read and not reviewed, so I need to get onto that. I'm going to do maybe shorter videos and just release them as I do them, because I'm just going to fall behind else. So yeah, we've got some book reviews coming, and what else? I think that's about it. I might do that Norman Wisdom thing. Let me know. If you're interested in watching it with me, I won't be with you and it won't be live, but we'll be together, and I'll talk a little bit. I won't talk over it too much, but my experience of watching it back in the day, perhaps we'll share a laugh, a little giggle together, my loves. But anyway, let's leave it there. I think what I'll do is at the end of this, if copyright is okay with this music, I will give you the Long Rush recording of the shambolic intro, which I was dancing to that for about 5 minutes. I was completely all in by the end of it, and I thought I'd done myself a mischief, but I slept really well last night. I've been suffering from terrible back pain for weeks now, and it's to do with the bed. I think our bed is supposedly a nice one, but it's battering the shit out of my back on a daily basis. But after that wizard boogie, I slept like a bloody lamb. Lamb? Do lambs sleep well? I don't know. Like a baby, of course. Yes, like a baby. But there we are. Anyway, let's go. Thanks for watching, my loves, and see you soon. Cheerio.